What's up, guys? Cool topic today. We're going to talk about some decision making, okay? This affects all of us, regardless if you fish inshore, near shore, offshore. There's so many different species that we target across Florida and beyond, so many different venues and tactics. So certainly it's going to be impossible to touch on everything for everyone, but I think I'd like to share with you some of the different fisheries and some of the different factors that help me make decisions while I'm out on the water, okay? And, you know, again, I know a lot of this you're gonna be able to convert to how you fish, what boat, what area, what tactics you're using. A lot of it's gonna be universal, but some of it may be specific, certainly to me and how I fish down here in the Keys. I bring all of this up now because I recently had a viewer, I can't remember if it was on one of the social media platforms or our streaming site. And he had inquired, he said, how do you make these decisions? What do you look for? What should I do? Where should I go? And it's such an open-ended question because there's so many different scenarios. But certainly there's some basics, that can really help everybody. Let's start on the shallow side. I think that's going to be the easiest way to do this is we start shallow and we'll work our way out deeper. Here in the middle Florida Keys, when I say shallow, and remember, we're fishing a quad-powered 41-foot Sea Hunter CTS Cat. Certainly there are times we're fishing in 20 to 40 feet of water. That's shallow for us, okay? 20 to 40 feet of water on the patch reefs, in Hawk Channel, looking for yellowtail snapper, mangrove snapper, mutton snapper, lane snapper, red grouper, all of these reef-dwelling species, right? So we do fish that shallow water quite a bit. And there's some key elements that are an absolute must. Number one is moving water. You gotta have current. So whenever I get to any of those areas, anywhere along those, the patch reefs or Hawk Channel, I stop the boat before I drop the anchor, give it a minute, make sure you've got some moving water, okay? Make sure you've got some current because you're gonna be chumming. Anytime we're fishing the patch reefs, we're chumming. If we have no current, the chum's going straight down. You're not creating a big slick. You're not ringing the dinner bell and calling everybody in to come play. So without moving water, you got no bite. You have no life and you're not gonna catch anything. Or you might catch a couple small fish that are right under the boat, but that's it. So moving water is a must. If you don't have it, move. Move a mile, move 2 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles, I don't care. Move to another area of the patch reefs and see if you can find some moving water and some current in those areas, okay? Because without it, you're shit out of luck, excuse my language. Clear water, I'm okay with clear water, crystal clear, as long as that current is moving. If I have no current and crystal clear water, that's like a death sentence right there. That combination of no current, crystal clear water, no life, definitely pick up and move. If I have dirty water on the patch reef, some greenish water, off-colored, I'm okay with that. I really am because that helps hide all of your terminal tackle. It often turns on the bite. So having some off-colored water while you're reef fishing could be a big plus as long as you have the current and you have moving water, okay? Now, working our way out a little bit deeper, when we get off the edge of that reef, we're now in, let's just say 100 to 200 feet, 100 to 300 feet, wahoo fishing, just as an example. I'm looking for clean blue water. I'm looking for bait. I'm looking for birds. All of that combined, is really gonna say, hey, as long as the water temperature is right, hey, keep fishing. However, if there's a lot of grass, I can't keep my lures cleaned. It's a constant battle keeping the grass off the lures. That's a huge no-no. If the water's green, not gonna find any prized pelagics. Certainly you might catch king mackerel and bonita in that green water, but you're not gonna find any wahoo, big black fins, sailfish. None of that is gonna be in that green water. So watercolor plays a huge role. And if I don't have nice clean water, I'm gonna move. I'm gonna potentially move 5, 10, 15, 20 miles up or down the reef, either west or east. Again, I'm in Marathon, so our lay of the land is east and west. And in turn, I may make a big move looking for better conditions. In that same depth area, we're also wreck fishing, right? We're wreck fishing for muttons, cobias, African pompano. Same scenario. If I have no current and I'm sitting still and the boat's just spinning, I'm out of there. I gotta go fish a different spot. Especially when you're wreck fishing, those fish relate to the structure, but they relate to moving water, because that moving water is what's going to flush all of that forage over the wreck, around the wreck, away from the wreck, out around that perimeter where those fish are going to be feeding. So without that moving water, I'm really at a handicap. So I got to have that current when I'm wreck fishing. The grass up on the top doesn't mean much to me. Birds don't mean much to me in that scenario. It's the moving water. That's the key part of wreck fishing right there. So that's a sign that I look for. Deep dropping, right? We're going to continue to push out even further. On the deep drop grounds, look, current again plays a huge role. Water color, water temperature, presence of bait on or near the surface, none of that matters when you're deep dropping, okay? Because you're targeting fish that are right on the bottom, anywhere from 600 to 1,200 feet down. So what's happening up here does not play a huge role with what's happening to the fish way down deep. But there are some factors that do make a difference. One of them being the light. You're going to find that deep dropping is often the most effective under a clear blue sky, bright sun. The brighter it is, that light penetrates the depth and it turns those fish on. When it's cloudy, hazy, low light conditions, I just tend to struggle a little bit when I'm deep dropping, at least, as a rule. Of course, the only guarantee in fishing is that there are no guarantees. And sometimes when you think you've got it dialed in, the fish bite in the completely wrong conditions, and vice versa. When the conditions are terrible, you have a great bite. Or when the conditions are perfect and you think you're going to crush them, you can't buy a bite. That's the wonderful thing about fishing, is every single day is different, right? Every venue, every species, everything is different. It's a constant learning experience. But again, as a rule, we've got to have some general factors that we're looking for. Dolphin fishing, when you're offshore trolling for dolphin, which so many people do, what are we looking for? We're looking for bait. We're looking for birds, which are going to lead the way. The birds are the best fishermen out there. We're looking for well-formed weed lines, clean blue water, current rips, edges, all of that good stuff, floating debris. And we're looking to couple it together. In other words, if I see birds diving and a weed line, great place to fish. If I see some little bullets, little skipjacks or bonitas skipping up on the surface all over the place, and I've got some frigates out in the distance, great place to troll, right? Great place to look for dolphin. So I'm always trying to couple at least two different forms of structure, two different forms of, hey, fish here, coupled together. If I go out dolphin fishing and I don't find any of that, I can't find any grass, there are no birds anywhere, there's no current rips, everything just seems void of life like the Dead Sea, I've got to move to a different area. I've got to go further offshore or closer, shallower, but I have to fish a different depth. I have to, because the fish aren't going to be there. There's too much ocean. There's too much opportunity for them. They've got to feed. They're constantly on the move. Especially dolphin that grows so fast, they need constant supply of fuel. So if all of those ingredients, or at least some of them, are not coming together, pick up and move, head further offshore, fish a different stretch of water. Okay, that's another key element. Again, just to touch on a couple other quick species and venues, kite fishing for sailfish. And again, we're moving shallower now, but kite fishing for sailfish. Once again, we've got to have some breeze to keep those kites aloft. Otherwise, we're using the balloons, which is fine, okay? But moving water in that scenario is also a key. You got to have current. You got to have clean water. If you can couple those with a nice edge, man, it's just a matter of time before you score. If you don't have any of that, pick up and move. So a lot of this is common sense, right? A lot of making these decisions on the fly is common sense. It's not just getting to an area and starting to fish and saying, hey, this is where I'm gonna be. It's having what I like to call situational awareness. It's understanding what's happening on the bottom. It's understanding what's happening through the water column, up on the surface, and in the sky. So it's really paying attention to everything that's happening all around you at all times, using your chart plotter, your Furuno fish finder, all of that good stuff. And now incorporating all of that, digesting it all and saying, hey, am I likely gonna have success here targeting a particular species in this venue based on what I'm seeing? Does it make sense for me to continue to invest my time here? You'll have to make that decision, okay? But don't just let things play out unless you have a reason to let them play out. And sometimes that happens. Look, sometimes we get on a spot, man, I'm reading the muttons down there. We've got good current. I'm reading the fish on the bottom. Looks like a lot of life. I'm convinced this is gonna blow up. But we can't get a bite. We can't get a bite. I'm gonna keep fishing there. I'm not ready to give up on that because all of the pieces to the puzzle are in place and there just needs to be a trigger. And sometimes those fish turn on like a light switch. Sometimes you just need to get one mutton to bite to get all of the other muttons in the area fired up and excited and saying, hey, what's going on here? And often that turns on the whole bite. So many different factors. It is a great question. We could probably sit here and dive deeper into each species and each decision that you need to make. But as a general rule, I can't stress enough, I think the one phrase or the answer is situational awareness. It's understanding everything that's happening, incorporating all of that information, and using that to make an educated decision on if you should continue to fish that area or it's time to make a move.